And then tell us about now you're growing the company. Like, how did you get into Woolies? How did you get into all the big stores? Like, tell us about that. How did you do it?
Yeah, so I think, so basically, it really goes back again to what goals you had prior to actually going into business, and what resources you had, and whatever challenges you've had, what have those challenges led to?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, I mean, Mo and I have been talking to these retail chain stores before we were even at our first market. This was already in 2016, before we even, decided that we're gonna go to the markets, and so it was always something that we've always wanted to do, to say we really want to see ourselves in retail chain stores, selling products. And I remember particularly we had went to a market and we had no money at all. It was really a successful market, but because of we have our living expenses also to cover, we realized we're not gonna make it. And that morning we then called, and so that's how we got to where we are. We called the companies that we had talked to previously, and we then were very much more serious about whatever it is that we wanted to sell, and more than anything, hearing what the customer wanted. We are offering A, but then they're asking for B. How can you then expand from A to B to be able to supply that? But we had to start with something, so we had an A to take to them to market it. And they were able to hear us and say, okay, this is what we want, and we were able to meet that need. And so this is basically how it happened. It was really just conviction and calling and actually selling a product. But more than just cold calling and selling a product, it was not that easy. But it's also about, what are you bringing to the market? Is it something that's currently not available? If it's available, are you doing it better? In our case, it was really, really a brand new product that no one has ever seen. Like I said, the recycled PVC baskets have never been seen. And with the grass range that we are currently doing right now, it's nothing completely new. But how are you bringing more quality to it? How are you styling it? How are you making it different? And how are you pricing it? And so basically, that's how we started going into retail chain stores. Pretty much there was just the same that's how we acquired all our clients throughout. There was no connections, or I know a cousin, or I know a friend that works there. There was nothing at all. Whoever it is that's watching there and just knows Woolworths as Woolworths, and does not even know anybody that works there as a teller, or as a sales assistant. That's exactly how it was with us. And so it really was just putting ourselves out there, but also making sure that you're also bringing something that is not sold currently, that is very different, and finding a way to really just meet the customer's needs. And that's basically how we got to where we are.
Fantastic. Tell us more now to you. Like, tell us about your, some of the things you've done in trying to getting the deals that you've got. I know from experience that from knowing you, like, you're very tenacious, very persistent. Tell us about those stories. I know, like, when we listen to that, like, I was laughing so hard. Like I'll get to the person. Like, it doesn't matter how.
So basically, it's like what you just said, persistence. And I didn't even know that I had this personality trait in me, but I see it every day as I work in the business. Like, even if it's an employee that maybe we think that is probably not going to work for us, but they turn out working for us, or maybe it's a high-end luxurious hotel that we could not imagine that we would work with, and now we work with them. So it's persistence, following up every time, no matter what happens. Even if it's 3 months, 4 months that you haven't spoken to that buyer, go back to them 4 months later and be persistent. It's basically what it is. Like Michelle mentioned, we don't know anyone any of these stores, because we have some people calling us like, I need Woolworths connections. Like, no, we didn't start with any connection. It's like, basically LinkedIn is your tool, and a lot of people are sleeping on LinkedIn. People don't know that you can actually reach out to so many people on LinkedIn, like just Googling a buyer of a specific sector that you're looking for, and then getting their details that way, writing to them and following up as much as possible. And that's what we've done: emailing, following up, calling, cold calling, and developing products, and also going to market. I mean, like we started at a market, and we already knew what the market wanted. We knew from our target market what they wanted. So having that product that speaks to that market, and then find wholesalers that also speak to the same market, you should be able to get it right. But persistent is the number one thing that I would say.
Brilliant. Tell us about Crate and Barrel. Tell us about that. Like, how did you land Crate and Barrel, and what's the process? What do you need to do? And if I want to be in Crate and Barrel as well, what do I need to do? Do you have connections?
So for those of you that don't know, Crate and Barrel is a retail store that's specifically sells homeware goods in the US. They're based in the USA. They've got over 200 stores in the USA, Canada, and Singapore. And like Michelle said, you know, it's a matter of cold calling, emailing. We've done this with so many other stores that we can't even name right now. I'm talking about Target, Lowe's. I'm talking about Home Goods, Home Depot, all these companies that you can think of that we see our products in. We've actually reached out to them. So it's just sometimes it's also a luck meeting you in that moment as you're prepared. So we send them an email and they responded on the same day, in the same hour, and they were really intrigued with our catalog. This is one of the things that we pride ourselves so much into. We take our marketing very seriously. We spend a lot of money on marketing, making sure that we are presenting a very good product, that we've got the best photographers, that we've got the best catalog that speaks our story. It's not always that you get the opportunity to speak to a buyer personally, but if they can see and tell your story on a catalog, then so be it. So we spend a lot of money on that. And luckily, the right person got the email at Crate and Barrel and wrote us back immediately and said, I need to have the samples. And that's pretty much how we landed the deal with Crate and Barrel. And it was during COVID time, you know, I was in my bed, in my pajamas, trying to going through LinkedIn, like I said, and looking at different buyers and people that targets, basically people that I can write to. And that's how it came about, just basically me, LinkedIn, and the internet.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for sharing all of this. We're going to take questions from the audience. Please type your questions in the chat box. I think this is also inspiring. Thanks for sharing your experience, ladies. Like you are an inspiration to me. So I'll tell you about my highlights. My highlights was really spending time with you guys at Royal Maliwane, Royal Portfolio, you know.
Yes. Always. It's always such a joy spending time with you. Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
Yeah. And definitely the silo.
Oh yeah, this and this hello, obviously the penthouse. Like, oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Like. So there's a question from Rakale saying, "Why was Builders the real retail experience and not so much the other retailers? Like, was it the first, or there's more to it? It's like why?"
Yes, why? Not necessarily. It's also because it was the first, but not necessarily. So with Builders Warehouse, the vendor, the person that's supplying the product, is pretty much responsible for everything, meaning they're responsible for the tags that they put on the product. They're responsible for the delivery to the stores. They're responsible for the display in the stores. And you're also responsible for marketing the product. So it was a huge surprise to us that we had to be responsible for so many elements at a very early stage. So having to learn about delivering to a retail store ourselves, having to come up with the labels ourselves. Usually, you know, Woolworths give you the labels and you just go ahead and print it. But with Builders Warehouse, we had to design the labels ourselves. We had to deliver the products ourselves. We had to speak to the dispatch and receiving team. These are some of the elements that these are some of the things we don't get to do with Mr. Price and Woolworths, you know, and so we were completely independent with Builders Warehouse. And I like the fact that they taught us, we learned this from the very get-go. And so going into other retail stores was like a breeze. It was like a walk in the park because we had such extensive experience with Builders.
Michelle is saying it is always difficult to make contact with the buyers of bigger companies in order to pitch your product. Do you have any tips?
First of all, my number one tip is for you using the word, it's always difficult. It's not always difficult. So the fact that you have engraved it in your mind that it's difficult, it will always seem like it's difficult. That's number one that I would say. It's not difficult to reach out to a buyer. They're just a human being just like you, and they're doing their job, and they want to get the best product on the shelf. Trust me, believe me, it's a KPI. They have it on their KPI to bring the best product that's going to sell. So the number one tip for me is make sure you have a product that is compelling, that is competitive, that is going to sell. They want to be the people that are bringing that product because it means a promotion to them. It means a highlight to their career. So that's the first thing. Don't bring things that are already in the stores because she is probably going to lose interest and seem impossible or difficult to approach because they've already seen so many things. So what is it that you're going to bring that is going to speak to that department, that is going to make a sale, that is going to make havoc in the marketing scene, and that is going to lead to the buyer being promoted? So remember, you are helping them get their promotion at the end of the day and reach their KPIs. Never think that they're difficult. They're not difficult at all. I think that the mindset or the mindset that we have that these people are difficult is what brings the limitations for you to reach out to these people.
And I think also to add to that is persistence. I mean, sometimes you can write to them and they can ignore you. And with whatever you're doing, I think as they said that you're in health or whatever product you're doing, and if you're introducing a new product, or even if it's a new label, or even if it's just a new color cap on whatever product you have, you send that to that buyer that ignored you and you say, now we have introduced, so you continue keeping the conversation going, and they're going to end up trying to find out what it is that Michelle has to offer. Let me just hear what she wants, so continuing the conversation and making sure that they always remember you, especially when you have that particular store where you really, really want to go into. You have to just keep on trying and keep on communicating, I'd say.
Cool. Thank you. There's a question from Lebo Mpashele. She's one of our Startup Circles game changers. She's on one of the programs. The question from Lebo is, how did you source finance in order to support all these retailers?
Yeah, so we definitely also 100%, we still own 100% of our company. We haven't gotten investment yet, so it's been really difficult. Our bank, Nedbank, has really been helpful in helping us grow the business, in that they gave us a vehicle finance that was able to help us run around a lot. They also gave us a little bit of financial it was not huge, but they did give us a loan that we're still repaying. It was a very small loan. But I think bridging finance, once you've got the purchase orders and you are able to show and prove that you have capacity, you have the resources to help you with the job, I think it's pretty easy to get the funding for those purchase orders. But it's not easy in the beginning when you don't have those purchase orders. So it's basically, like I said, relying on friends and family, and doing small markets for us assisted us financially to get to the point where we were then able to produce those purchase orders to get bridging finance.
There's another question from John Kibe from Rakale. So, do you think having a store product helped you focus, or do you intend expanding on product range in terms of looking at other homeware items? And thanks for the inspiration.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the reason why we called Most Crib is because we are catering to accessories within the home space. So whether it's linen or bedding, cushions, kitchen accessories, bathroom accessories, etc. These are some things that we are looking at right now. We started with a little swan, or origami swan, that you use on your stationery desk to put your stationeries, and we would call it like a storage facility or item that we started selling. And we later learned from the customers that they use it as a planter as well, which was a home accessory. And this was a no-brainer to us that, oh my God, we are definitely in the right division. And so we are definitely growing our range. It takes time, the design, looking at the raw materials, looking at the staff members, the artisans that are able to, that have the capacity to do this kind of art. So it does take time, but we are looking into it. Yes, definitely.
Great, thank you. Another question from Kibe John, Nairobi. What is the one thing or more that you say gave you leverage when you approach the big stores?
I would definitely say, offering a different product. For instance, the one thing that we really came up with when we first started approaching our first stores was coming up with a product that is never seen before. The recycled PVC range, we are the only ones that actually make this product. So it really is just a concept that we own. And that was, first of all, very eye-catching, number one. And I think secondly was being able to then meet their needs. So anyone in life, if you are able to meet someone's needs, if you're able to assist them with whatever challenge that they face, they are willing to listen to you. Then they mentioned we wanted X and we were able to actually supply X. And by the way, at the time, we were not even supplying that product, but we made sure that we bring out the best. And even if you find a similar product and you look at the quality, it's two completely different things. The third thing I would say is definitely marketing. And the marketing material that we have, the photos, the catalogs that we actually send out to the clients. It's something that they actually want to look into, because the big retail chain stores do not want to have to start now trying to groom you into a business that is really, fully fledged. They want to work with someone that can actually help them move quickly. So you also want to show that you are actually quite established. And even though you're a small company, you really are established. Your supply chain will be, on time. The marketing material that you have, it's really, it's good. The product that you have, you made sure that there is quality followed on the product that you're supplying. And basically those were our three basically competitive edges when we actually went on to speak to the big retail chain stores. They do not want to have to, navigate you into, the route in which they would love you to walk into. Remember with us, we're competing with.
They don't want to hold your hands. They don't want to babysit.
They don't want to hold your hands, and with the product that we're bringing to market, we're competing with companies from like China, and we had to think about how we can be better, how we can be better than them. And you find them saying, oh, well, China takes a week to do as a sample. How can you take 3 days to do a sample for the client? And so it's just always really just thinking about how you can be better.
So it's not like, help me, I'm new, help me, I'm a startup. Help me, I'm Black. Help me, I'm a youth. Help me, I'm a woman.
Oh, the thing of help me, I'm Black and I'm BEE, it's a long story, and I just suggest that people stop using that. There's better things, like there's a better way for you to sell yourself than saying to a big retail store, I'm BEE. It's like, okay, you're BEE, but what is it that you are selling? And like Michelle said, have that competitive product. And how are you going to beat the competitor? Know your competitors. We already knew that our competitors are in India and China, and those people don't sleep. They work 24 hours a day. Their containers get here in 2 days, and you're wondering, how did they do that? And it's like, how can you compete with those people and show the buyers that you actually are aware of the people that they're buying from and that you can do better?
Fantastic. We'll get the last two questions before we close. A question from Giselle Matthew saying, how do you get out of the starting blocks? Currently, she's selling from home with the ambition of being in a big retailer. She has a home-based baby food company.
You know what? It's a product, retail ready. So basically looking at some of the competitors, if you've looked at your competitors, are you retail ready, in comparison to the competitors that you see on the shelves currently? And, once you can answer that and that's a yes, and you already are SABS approved, etc., then that means that you're ready to then knock on some doors and actually getting your product out there. But another thing that I would also say is then, apart from then focusing on the retail chain stores and selling your product at wholesale, with particularly within, I would say maybe in the food industry where margins could possibly be tight, then, how can you also look at scaling your online presence, your online presence, that's also going to create brand awareness for you, so that when you actually do go to retail, people already know the brand, so it's really just all about, looking at your product and feeling like this is definitely store ready. I think it's competitive. It is, if it's on the shelf, it's definitely someone can actually just pick that up, and being really honest with yourself. It's your product, you love it, but if you're honest with yourself, is it something that someone can actually reach out for versus that of your competitor? And I think if you have that box checked, then you are ready to then speak to, your retail chain stores that you feel your product would be a better fit. And then you actually get that done. So there's not much that needs to be done. It's really just all about the process that you've put in place for your product to be SABS approved, getting the right branding, etc.
Great.
Just very quickly, I just wanted to speak to the lady that's doing the baby foods, is that you don't necessarily need to go to retail. There's so many ways in which you can sell your product, and it does not have to be retail. Like, for example, Take a Lot, you can actually sign up your products there. You can speak to a lot of, kiddie schools like Creche and things like that, and supply these foods to them. You can start by giving them for free for the first week or so and see if they will be enticed to have building a relationship with them. So it's not necessarily that you have to go into retail to be successful or to make it. In fact, it's quite the contrary. So I think that selling direct to consumer will actually change the trajectory of your company and actually make you more money than you would be doing selling retail. So I think thinking outside of retail and going direct to consumer and collaborating with the creches and the primary schools, depending on what your product is.
Yeah. Go ahead, Michelle.
Seeing that there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there, I would say that really just believing in your product continually and, making sure that you really just do what you feel is best for your, for your product, and not necessarily what, another entrepreneur is doing, but what you feel is really the right channel to get your products to grow. And definitely one of the most important things for me, I would say, is if you actually focus on your marketing, your product is really on its way to, shooting up and succeeding. Marketing is the key and the doorway to, to creating, success for your product and your business.
Great. Your last words of encouragement. I know you were answering the other question earlier. So more.
Oh, me? Just have determination and persistence. I think that's what I would say. So if you made a call last week and the person did not call you back, how about give them a call tomorrow and the day after and a month later and a year later? If you have a dream and you can think it, it's possible. So that's all I can say.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And I like that ending of you need to call. We talk about that at Startup Circles. Like, a lot of times people complicate the process.
They complicate it.
They're putting all of the digital things, paying people. Like, have you just picked up the phone and called someone? Nobody's buying.
Emailing them. You've got their email addresses. You've got your mobile phone. Go on LinkedIn. Look out for their names. Check their email addresses and email them every day. Have a captivating subject, new product alert, etc. Just keep reaching out to these people. Trust me, they will respond. It's part of their job actually to respond to you.
Fantastic. So we still go back to the basics of just email and phone. Then all the other things we can add, but just that persistence, getting things done, not stopping, not relenting. You ladies, you've built an amazing company. Really very, very inspiring. Everybody's so inspired here. Say thank you very much for the stories. And so we've had these are the stories we love to hear, and stories we love to hear here in Africa. Thank you very much. Thank you everybody for joining us today. Thank you, Mo and Michelle.
Thank you so much, Sandras, for having us. We appreciate it.